Richie, City Council meeting Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. Back to the Bank Communication. Father, we just come to you in the precious name of Jesus for the stuff that's on the agenda tonight for the second reading of ordinance. We thank you that you'll guide us through that and that we could get things done. And we do thank you for the requirement of Pasco County Port Richey Code Ordinance and everything that we're going to be doing, approval of maintaining things on 19 and redevelopment and development and all the things that you have us do. I just thank you for this night and for the safety of coming together and being able to counsel and plan for events coming up. I thank you for that as well. I know we got a holiday that's going to be coming up called the 4th of July, so I want to thank you for the men and women that served in our military and law enforcement and first responders, and thank you for their service and what they've done and doing and will continue to do as we pray and give thanks to the Pledge of Allegiance. In God we trust, in Jesus' name, amen.
Madam Clerk, have roll, please.
Mayor John Eric Hoover.
Here.
Vice Mayor Chris Mayer.
Here.
Councilman David Mueller.
Here.
Councilman Robert Hubbard.
Here.
Councilwoman Lisa Burke.
Here.
City Attorney Tom Trask.
Here.
City Manager Andrew Butterfield. Let the record show that our city manager is absent from tonight's meeting. And just for the record, our normal city attorney, Nancy Meyer, is also absent from today's meeting.
Thank you. Okay, first up, we got 7 minutes from April 22nd. We do have an item of concern in there. There was one of the, let's see, item number 4. It didn't have the vote tally on there for fire station feasibility study. Their motion was made by Councilwoman Burke and seconded by Councilman Hubbard, but there's no vote in there. So it was unanimous vote, if I remember correctly. So. And that was the only thing I saw. So,
Motion to approve with the changes that the mayor has reflected to reflect the vote on item number 4.
okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next up is comments from the general public. I have one signed up, Danny Fields. Welcome.
Danny Fields, 8114 Little Kid. Again, I just want to thank you guys for your leadership and your servitude. You're really appreciated by your brothers and friends and co-workers and the community and the businesses and the faith-based church. So, you know, I did that stuff with Somebody Cares, and the church is working with other mayors, and we was at Coachman Park. That went good. And then also the conferences and stuff that's coming up with that, mayors getting together, talking about the cities, learning from one another, and just growing together and dealing with the little things and things that they have experience in with each other. So that's a great thing that's going on. But really what I signed up here to speak on is the free school backpack supply giveaway from kindergarten to 12th grade is coming up, and we got that for July the 26th at Waterfront Park. So we pulled the permit and got that ready to go. I'm glad that the fire department, the police, and the city will be a part of that like you have been. We promote that and give probably anywhere from about 400 back-to-school backpacks giveaway from the faith-based church and the government business around to pour into our schools. And that's a chance, like we always do, that the police and the fire department and the city people come together and we promote that to be able to pour into our communities, our business. And it's a day of fun and games and celebration too, and it represents a lot of good things, and that's why Somebody Cares does this. So for those online, that will be at 8119 Old Post Road, Port Richey at Waterfront Park. They are a number here that you could reserve a backpack starting on July the 1st. We will take that through these numbers. You could call 727-992-3611 or 727-819-8881 and reserve a free backpack and then come out and pick it up. An event will be from 8 to 2, and backpacks will be split up because the crowd coming through. 10 o'clock pickup, 11 o'clock and noon, and then we'll release. There'll be food, fun, and games, and a time to celebrate. So just thank you. Hope to see you there, and we could continue to work together. Blessings.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. Anyone else? That's all I had signed up. Anyone from the public? Okay, seeing that, I'll bring it back. Next up is comments from the city manager. I see the city manager's out, but Sal's acting. Did you have any comments, Sal?
I got a few points that I can bring to council tonight. We are currently working with the community for FDOT Clean Water State Revolving Fund Program grant. We are seeking about $83 million in infrastructure, both our SCADA system and lift station rebuilds. McKim and Creed is helping us with that grant. We'll have more details as we submit for it, but just wanted to bring that to council's attention. Bay Boulevard paving is complete. Daryl Rose, our Public Works Utility Director, he did go out and I think you went out with him today to look over any points of concern to bring to Ajax Paving. He's already submitted an email to them pointing out those points and hoping to get those fixed before we submit payment. On the city manager's request, I sent out a couple of 2 letters to 2 property owners located here on Springer, right here on Springer Drive in the corner of Springer and Formel. We had discussions with McKim and Creed during our RO plant design, and there's some vacant properties that are adjacent to the water plant. We're going to contact those property owners and see if we can attain those properties and get pricing for them and bring that to council later on. That's all I have right now. I stand for any questions or concerns that you may have.
Well, you're talking about rebuild the lift stations. We have on the agenda as far as rehabilitating them.
Those are relining the lift stations
Right.
to continue, but what we're submitting for is complete rebuilds. This would be basically taking out lift stations from the ground up and rebuilding them. Brand new concrete, wet wells,
Right.
piping, everything.
But the relining, I guess you're talking about a temporary issue that needs to be done immediately.
Well, because of the age of these tonight and the contract that we have, these relines will, can last the test of time. But we have over 46 lift stations total. So we have plenty of lift stations that we can be rebuilding throughout the system.
Thank you.
And what was the total of that grant?
We're looking for 83 million and change.
And then $1 million.
83 million.
Yes.
And then $1 million we're slated for the appropriation if that goes through for lift stations. Is that in addition to that, I guess, or?
This would be an addition. This is a separate. Separate funding from FDOT.
Okay.
And now we're still finding out if it's a 50-50 match or whatever. We're just submitting all the projects that we can right now to put in as much as we can. So we're not on the hook for anything. This is just trying to get as much submitted as we can, so then they can decide what they actually want to go through our paperwork, projects and whatnot, and decide what they're going to grant to us.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, move right along. Comments from boards and committees. Obviously, I don't think there's been any meetings of note, but I did want to go ahead. We talked and we actually created the event planning committee, and we sent out a solicitation to those existing Centennial members to see if they were interested. And you should have 2 emails in front of you. So Janet Applefield and Caroline Gonzalez both expressed interest in being on that committee. So if you guys want to go ahead and action that, I'd take a motion to approve both those.
I'll take a motion to approve Janet Appleseed.
Second.
Okay.
For Janet and
Yes.
Caroline?
Yeah.
Yes. Second? Okay. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, put to vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. So that will bring that committee to 4, myself, those 2, and the city manager or his designee. So we'll we'll look at getting something on the calendar to meet. And also, we still got emails out to the other committee members if they're interested. So
How many? I forget. How many?
it's
were on?
9.
9.
That's right. Do we need 5?
It's 9, correct?
Yeah. Do
So it's 5.
we need 5? Okay,
It
one
was
more.
you and your designee.
Right.
Are you going to,
Yeah, I'll do it starting
Okay.
off, sure.
but we need one more.
Okay. So if we could maybe send out another reminder on that to see if I'm sure somebody else, and Janet responded, I'm sure Debbie probably wants to as well, but if you just send out another email, see if we can get that going.
You also want me to send it out publicly, like via website, Facebook?
Sure,
stuff like that?
absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Any other boards or committees? Okay, moving on to consent agenda. Looking for a motion.
I got a question.
Sure.
I noticed there was one item for the first invoice in engineering for the water plant improvements dated 5/9. And I noticed that the year-to-date is also for the same amount. So has that invoice already been paid? Or has it been booked and just as accounts payable here or what?
It's been mailed out. It has not hit the bank or anything. We didn't mail it out. But the invoice, we held the invoice because it was.
So we paid it. So what do we,
So the contract that we have is a reimbursable grant,
right?
and we're doing it one invoice at a time. We did submit to FDOT for automatic reimbursement. The difference is that as of right now, we have to pay the invoice, submit it, to McKim and Creed. Once we get that return check, we submit it to FDEP, and then they pay us back. The automatic reimbursement, when that goes through, unfortunately, FDEP says it could be up to their first quarter until they approve that portion of it. The automatic is we wouldn't have to pay anything up front at all. We would just say the invoice is for X amount.
They pay it direct.
Pay it.
Right.
So right now, McKim and Creed, they're very patient. They said they have 2 invoices with us, but they're willing to do one at a time so we get reimbursed, and then they'll submit for the second one. So the process should take between the time that we put in, we paid McKim and Creed. FDEP says it takes about 4 weeks to get that money back. So right now we're in that kind of reimbursement, but hopefully sooner than later we'll get the automatic reimbursement where it won't even come to council for approval because they'll pay it up front.
But my concern is this is dated 5/9, almost 2 months ago.
We were holding on to it because we were waiting how it was going to get paid. We wasn't sure.
Exactly, and that's fine. That's great cash flow management. But probably would be important to notify council because what you said is this check's already gone out the door, and we didn't have any say at all on it. And if that exceeds the authority, isn't that what this is all about? Is those expenditures that exceed the authority of the city manager to approve them and send them on?
Yes, but there is a statute that says that if this is past due, it's past due. We have 2 past due bills. So there is a statute out there in the state of Florida that says that if it is past due and it's a requirement, we can pay it. And so we paid this. It hasn't cashed yet, but this is something that's approved through our budget as well. So we can hold them. It's just that process just delays it a lot more to get our money back.
We can stop it if council wants to do that tonight. We can stop it.
I'm not interested in stopping it. I'm interested in looking at the process. What's holding things up? Why didn't this go out the week it came in?
Because we were talking to FDP about the automatic reimbursement, and we were trying to get that before having to pay the invoice. Me and the city manager didn't want to put out any money, and that was actually Matt Koppler's plan as well. But unfortunately, FDP won't have that approved till the first quarter. So unfortunately, I sat with the finance director and said, first of all, do we have the monies to put this up front in order to pay that? Which we do, I believe, out of contingency, out of our contingency fund to do that. But the thing is that we're doing this one invoice at a time. The second one will be brought to you earlier before we even submit that check. But we were talking with FDEP ourselves and McKim and Creed to make sure that we can take our time to process the invoices. They have absolutely no problem with being patient. They said that sometimes it takes up to 90 to 180 days until they get back, get an invoice paid. That's their average time when it comes to all their contracts. So they were understandable as far as the duration of time.
Thank you.
And we do have a second invoice that we're going to pay them all at the same time. But is this something you guys want us to bring to you before we actually mail the check out? We did that because it was already approved in the budget that we were going to.
My thinking is if you had it since 5/9, why didn't it show up on the first or second one in May?
Because we didn't want the city to pay it first. We were hoping that the automatic reimbursement would take place, but after submitting all the forms, FDOT told us in order to get the automatic reimbursement, it's going to take several, a couple months to do that. So that's what we were waiting on.
Okay. Anything else? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, put a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chris? Aye. Okay. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is we got several public hearings. I'll start with item number 3, second reading of ordinance number 25-732, repealing ordinance 96-768, and providing for an effective date. I'll pass that to Mr. Trask for his reading.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a reading of ordinance 25-732, an ordinance of the city of Port Richey, Florida, repealing ordinance 96-468 and providing for an effective date. That was the second and final reading of ordinance 25-732 by title only, and it requires a public hearing.
Okay. With that, I'll open the public hearing. Is there any comment? I don't have any sign up, but anybody in the public like to speak? Okay. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. I'll bring it back to council for a motion and or discussion.
No, I'd like to make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 25-732 to repeal ordinance 96-468.
Second. Okay. Motion and second. Any further discussion? Okay. We are going to second. So I'm going to take the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, public hearing number 4, second reading of ordinance number 25-733, vacating a portion of the city's right-of-way on Bridge Street, providing for conditions, and providing for an effective date. I'll pass that to Mr. Trask for his reading.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance 25-733, an ordinance of the city of Port Richey, Florida, vacating the city's right-of-way on Bridge Street, providing for conditions and providing for an effective date. That was the second and final reading of ordinance 25-733 by title only, and it requires a public hearing as well.
Okay. With that, I will open the public hearing. Have no sign-ups. Members like to speak? Seeing none, I'll bring it back and close the public hearing and open up motion or discussion.
So moved.
Okay. Second. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I just want to make sure that the motion was to approve.
Yes.
Yeah, Chris, you state the motion to approve.
That is correct.
Good. Thank you.
Second.
Yeah,
Or
that's right.
second.
Second.
She seconded.
You had a question?
No question.
I
David.
have a comment dependent upon whether we approve this or not.
What?
Because if we don't approve it, then my question is moot.
Okay. Let me put the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Opposed? Motion carries. Your comment?
Now my comment. Since we were approving to remove this land from our tax roll for the city of Port Richey, we need to ensure that Pasco County is aware that it's moving to a taxable entity, and we need to ensure that that's picked up on the tax roll. So I want a follow-up for the next meeting that we've notified Pasco County that this property is no longer within the city, exempt, and now is moving to a new owner, taxable owner.
So my suggestion is to make a certified copy of the ordinance once it's adopted, and then provide it to the tax collector, the property appraiser, saying that this property has been vacated. And then it's my understanding that the person, the applicant, is on both sides of the road right away.
Yeah.
And so we've just notified them that this is the new owner.
We said we weren't paying taxes.
Do that in a letter, certified.
No,
copy of the ordinance.
because where is it? Well, but they're not. No.
And ask for an acknowledgement of or receipt of the letter.
I'm sure Michael catch up on it. You're right, though.
You got that sound? Okay. Anything else? Okay. Moving right along, item number 5, second reading of ordinance number 25-734, amending chapter 36, article 5, section 36-162 and section 36-163 of the Port Richey Code of Ordinances to modify the roadways upon which golf carts can operate within the city and removing repetitive subsections, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date. I'll pass that to Mr. Trask for his reading.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance number 25-734, an ordinance of the city of Port Richey, Florida, amending chapter 36, article 5, section 36-162 and 36-163 of the Port Richey Code of Ordinances to modify the roadways upon which golf carts can operate within the city and removing repetitive subsections, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date. Again, that's a second final reading of ordinance 25-734 by title only, and it requires public.
So with that, I will open the public hearing. I have no sign-offs. Is there anyone public like to speak? Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing and bring it back to council for a motion or discussion. And I do have some brief discussion on that. 5. So one of the questions that I had on here is we removed a lot of the redundancy that Florida statute covers, but we didn't talk about the speed of the vehicles. And I notice in the ordinance it still states that in section 1, and that are not capable of exceeding speeds of 20 miles per hour. My question is, do we need to specify that because that's governed by Florida statute? And the reason I ask that is, let's say that they go and they change that to 25 miles an hour, then we got to go and redo this code. So I don't know if it's something that we need to restate or not. And it's also down in item E. It says golf carts should not be operated in speed excess of 20 miles per hour on a city street, county road. And it also says or state highway, which you can't even operate on a state highway there.
So you can either adopt the changes to reflect that it's going to be consistent with the state statute, or you're going to do it pursuant to your code as currently written. If you want to make that change, that's a substantive change, and we'd have to come back and read the ordinance a third time.
Okay, so it would be a substitute on that. So yeah, with that, I don't think that's going to change. So probably okay, leave it in there. We can. I just, like I said, I know we were taking some of that out, that duplicate language. Is there anything else on that? And that was all comments I had. So.
Motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 25-734.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, and the last public hearing, item number 6, second reading of ordinance number 25-735, amending chapter 24, article 4, section 24-180 of the Port Richey Code of Ordinances to change the residency requirement to Pasco County, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for effective date. I'll pass it to Mr. Trask for his reading.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is our second and final reading of ordinance 25-735, an ordinance of the city of Port Richey, Florida, amending chapter 24, article 4, section 24-180 and section 24-181 of the Port Richey Code of Ordinances to change the residency requirement to Pasco County and address selection of the chairperson and vice chairperson, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date. This is the second final reading of ordinance 25-35 by title only. 25-735 by title only. It requires a public hearing.
Yeah, and just, this is for the Historical Preservation Commission. That's what this applies to. So with that, I will open the public hearing. And we're out of public, so we'll bring it back.
Motion to approve second reading of ordinance 25-735.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Motion carries. And that's our final public hearing. Next, we have council business item number 7, purchase request to epoxy line the Green Street and Sandpebble lift stations. I'll pass that to Mr. LeCarry for his introduction. I'm assuming you're going to introduce that, right? Okay.
Yes, I'll go ahead and do that. As a continuing effort to, reline and basically protect our lift stations from I&I intrusion, we're requesting the purchase to reline the Green Street lift station and Brent Street in Sandpebble lift station. The stations will be epoxy coated to address the issues of falling walls, holes, and stormwater infiltration. Restoration and Protective Solutions will be performing this work for the lift stations. And the city will be piggybacking a contract from the city of Cape Coral to make this purchase. I've spoken with the city attorney, and I included the RFP and original information for the city of Cape Coral contract. This is a contract that we've utilized for several other lift station relinings that we've done. And what we're going to do is we're going to reach out to Restoration and Protective Services to formulate a contract for the city of Port Richey. That way we don't have to go forward and go through this process. We're going to go ahead and use the same guidelines as the city of Cape Coral contract. So Restoration and Protective Services is okay with that to move forward, and we're looking for a motion to approve these lift station improvements in the amount of $52,880.
Okay, just so I live on Green Street, so I'm just ask Mr. Trask, it's okay if I vote on this?
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks. Motion or discussion?
Motion to approve epoxy
I have some discussion.
lining on Green.
Okay, give me a second, Chris. I got a motion. Dave, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Go ahead, Chris, your discussion.
Yeah, I'm all for making sure that our lift stations are gonna hold up, and I like the idea of the epoxy and stuff. Is that gonna be something we're gonna do, and then they're gonna rip those things out and put in new tanks? How long is it gonna take for us to get this other money we're asking for?
That's uncertain as of right now. This is like the money that we're submitting for. This is the preliminary ask. I have to find out from McKim and Creed and FDEP how long that can take. I was told that it could be a lengthy process. It could be a few years, but like I stated to council before, we have several. We have over 45 lift stations that we can consider. We submitted for all of them across the board. That's why the ask price is quite a bit. But these two lift stations have immediate concerns, especially with the rainfall season that we're in now, and we want to address this as soon as possible. These monies that we have were budgeted as operational expenditures for this year. So these are the next two lift stations that I've conferred with Daryl to move forward on.
Okay, that's all I needed. Thank you, Sal. That's all I need here. Thank you.
Yeah, and actually, these lines, even whatever we do at lift stations, they would still be utilized, right? We wouldn't rip those out. I mean,
They would be the last on the list.
Yeah.
We would start with all the other ones that we have not relined. We've only relined a very few amount. I believe, it's off the top of my head, I believe 5 or this would be like 6, number 5 and 6, if I'm correct.
Okay.
So we've, but the asking for the grant, and I'll get more particulars after we submit. We have a June 30th deadline to get this out to FDEP. So we're trying. McKim and Creed is being very helpful to write the scopes, and this is also covering our entire new SCADA system for the lift station network and the water plant. So that's where the other monies are going towards. So we just want to get the ask in as soon as possible. And like I said, as we move forward with the particulars, and if approved, we'll be bringing options to council.
is there, Daryl, you might be one to just answer this one. Is it downtime on that for anything? Is when you reline those, is it just people know?
We put them on bypass, so we have valves.
So it's seamless to the people? Okay.
It won't interrupt anything. It's all completely redone, so.
And in the condition of these, are these the worst of the entire batch, and that's why they're being focused on?
Yeah, so this one has broken base 90s as well, so those are getting replaced as well.
Okay.
They're the ones that are in the most need as well.
So the theory is you're trying to repair the ones, the worst ones first.
Trying to get the mayor's waste out of Green Street as quick as possible.
We don't call it waste over where I come from.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next up, item number 8, approval of the District 7 Highway US 19 Landscape Reimbursement and Maintenance Memorandum of Agreement with FDOT for $450 million. I'll pass that to Mr. O'Carey for introduction.
450,000.
Oh, $450,000. Thank you.
$450 million.
Big difference.
Big difference.
Big difference.
We're going to do some serious landscaping.
Palm trees.
This is the third time the city has submitted for this for these monies by FDOT. Obviously, we have done the center medians twice now, and this is the third time that we're asking for monies to either. The thing is that we have not. This will be including submitting a plan. We could either decide to do the center medians, or we can do the outside right of ways. So right now, this is this is the initial ask to submit and to go forward with a MOA with FDOT. That way, we can start formulating what we're actually going to go forward with design with the project. So.
Okay, I didn't know something on the exchange back and forth with Matt and the FDOT on page 319 of the packet is the response back from FDOT saying we were approved. They made a note that please note that the HLR MOA limits design fees to 10% of project installation total. So we had requested $450, and in his letter on the page before that, he estimates the $50,000 for the design, which is outside that parameter. So I don't know what that means, if anything. But
They'll only reimburse us 10%. If it ends up being a little bit more, we'd have to get different funds to supply that.
So
but that was his estimate.
So if we did spend $50,000, we wouldn't be getting reimbursed $50,000 based on that. We get $45,000.
Yeah, they will only give us $45,000.
So we had $5,000 of our money. Okay, just make a note of that. So.
Did we ask them to knock it down to 45?
Well, whoever we approach to, we'll explain that scope that we only have X amount of dollars to spend.
And when they say of the project installation total, would you include the design in that, or would you just be doing basically $400,000 as the estimate? So we'd only be eligible for 40. I'm assuming that's probably the way it would read, but I don't know.
The 450 is the total amount that we're going to receive, so that's going to include the design and the construction part of it.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to stay within that. So. Okay. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve and sign the District 7 Highway US 19 Landscape Reimbursement and Maintenance Memorandum of Agreement MOA with FDOT.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? We have one public returned. Okay, he declines. All right, bring it back for council vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That includes council business. Next up is old business. Is there any old business for discussion?
Couple things. One, Andy's not here. I want to talk to him about the Sal is very familiar with the company that performed the fireworks for a centennial event. I was hoping we could contact them and get them on the schedule for the next 4th of July next year. They get an earlier start out. There's a better chance of getting them contracted, I believe. And the possibility of maybe a long-term contract for the next 3 to 5 years, possibly like a $20,000 minimum budget.
I can reach out to them and explain those parameters and see what they would be willing to do. Per the amount, I'm going to have to get other quotes for that. Since we're on that topic, do we want to lock in a date so I can tell them?
That's what we need to discuss.
Because I want to tell them this is the date that we're going to do it.
Yeah. You want to take a look at that calendar now?
Look at the calendar.
So if we go out to July 26th,
It's on Saturday.
4th is on Saturday. So
Could do, how about the 3rd? Because we got a lot of stuff going on Saturday. Think we'd be safe doing that?
Just to inform council, that will be a city holiday, and also reflected by Pasco County and everyone else, because the 4th is on a Saturday. So that will be
So it goes to the Friday instead of the Monday, right?
right. If it next year it will go on the Monday, but this year because it's on a Saturday, the city hall will be closed on Friday.
I actually think it'd be kind of nice to actually have it on the 4th if we can do it.
If we could do that. I mean, I'm thinking New Porici probably have theirs probably on the 4th, and as well as other places, municipalities, and people be doing different things. But I mean, I agree with you. I would rather have it on the 4th, but it might intercept a lot of their other activities is all. get more participation when it's on Friday.
Well, in any
And it's up to them if they're available too.
in any of these that are done at night, isn't people going to be on overtime anyway? Like on a regular weekend, if you had it, you're going to be on overtime, or
Well, yeah, it would just, I mean, it would be overtime throughout the day, as opposed to like on some days that we've done it on
After
weekdays, it's, you know, they've had regular time and then that evening would be overtime, where this would be overtime straight throughout the whole day. Then we'd have to coordinate with the police and fire on their availability for that holiday weekend as well. And I'm sure that they would both have, you know, issues or other, you know, things going on for that weekend. I don't, like I said, I can't speak for either one of those departments, but definitely would have to talk to them to see how a holiday weekend would be managed and how much more staff we would have to accommodate to cover just the regular shift about what's going on and then also the event itself. So just bringing that up as a possibility.
Well, you want to discuss it with everybody, and we'll weigh it out, and maybe next meeting put a date
I
in.
can also reach out to Newport Richie and see if they've locked in a date.
And then we can establish a date if you find out more information from these
Hey,
guys.
Tom, have you guys locked in a date for next year?
28th, always a Saturday before the 4th.
Okay, so there you go. So there,
Okay.
so the 4th is open. There is probably a price to think about on the 4th. That you have, they probably charge a premium on that. So
That's probably going to be, yes. I definitely would.
Yeah, get all that information
That makes sense.
put together
yeah,
based
there's
on all
high
that.
demand, obviously, for that
Right.
day.
But these guys may have, if they may want to make plans for the weekend, and then we'll lock them in that they can't go anywhere because we're on Saturday too. I'm over, you know.
No, like I said, I think the main goal I think Bob's getting at is it was a really good show that they put on for us, and we want to make sure that we can use
Right.
them in the future. So maybe by next meeting, if you do some checking and see and potentially see if the 4th would work out.
Do we want to talk about any alternate dates so I can ask them what it's going to be?
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, maybe. Any of those days.
or Thursday.
How about, well, we also have the Friday, I mean, if Newport Richie's going to be on the Saturday before, we have that Friday before and the Sunday before.
I'd rather be have a little more distance between them as opposed to back to back.
I mean, it's tough. I would have to mandatory people, so I'm going to have to mandatory people on a holiday. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's tough. At the end of the day, we got to do what we got to do.
There you go.
But if they're doing the week before, but if we can't get the week of, then why don't we do the week after? Just throwing stuff at the wall. Thought.
Yeah, maybe just bring back just kind of start checking and see.
I'll start reaching out to them and seeing what their availability and what dates they have available. I mean, they may already have the 4th actually booked, and then I'll see what they've got. And at least I'll have something to bring to council. Now that we have that date, I'll just work out that entire week and see what
There
we've
you
got
go.
available. I
Appreciate
mean,
that.
even if we got to do it on a Wednesday, Thursday, whatever it's got to be.
I think not the 4th, because there's so many things going on the 4th.
Right.
I mean, there's so many things to do. Maybe not just fireworks, but there's so many things to do on the 4th. So it would be better to do it a different day. Be different.
Yeah, find out their availability and get with staff, see what's best for everybody.
Okay.
So that we can have a festival.
Okay. Anything else? Old business?
Yeah, so I was looking at the limestone, or how do you call that, the limestone pier. It's been taken out.
Has it?
It's gone, but they didn't remove the worst pillar, which is out in the middle of the river. It's still there. And there's a marker, PVC marker there, right next to it.
Have we paid them?
No, the project's not complete yet.
It's a navigational hazard. Have you paid them already?
The project's not complete yet. They're still working on the retaining wall.
Okay, so
So
what I'd
that's not
like,
done, and I'll bring that point to them about that particular marker.
the point
because
we need to make to them is, are they still going to remove it? If they are, we need to give them 30 days to remove it, or we'll remove it and we'll just back charge them for it. It needs to be removed. It's a navigational hazard.
Is it the only one that's left?
That's the only one that I can find in there.
So
I
they
don't
pulled
see-
all the other ones out except for
all
that
the
one?
other ones that I don't see any other ones in there. I'm sure they're all gone. I would have seen them. I was over there swimming around, and yeah, that's one big one. And we can remove it with a crane. It's not that big of a deal, but it's going to cost a couple $1,000.
I'm I'm gonna have to talk to them again because you got to remember the original pier that we had was only 90 feet out. So I don't know if that marker goes out beyond that, and that was another pillar from the other side of the bridge, which they weren't contracted to do. But let me get measurements and talk to them and see what that is. What that is, because I wasn't 100% sure if that particular pillar was part of the pier.
Well, then they should have left what was left of the pier out of the water so no one would run into it. They left a navigational hazard is what they did.
Do you know if this one you're talking about, was it part of the pier or was it out?
It was the very last one, the very end.
Yeah. All right. I don't think there was one outside what the actual pier covered, so because otherwise it'd been hit all the time. Because that's right there.
Absolutely.
That's the channel.
We've been over it many times. It's 10 feet deep there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it sounds like they'd left that last one.
I'll talk to them about that.
And I was looking at the, we all got an email, I guess, on those traffic signs that have radar in them that catch speeders. Also has a flashing warning for speed, and it is made in Georgia, and they can actually radar tag people that are speeding at a set rate that we set. As in replacement of the speed humps on Grand Boulevard, possibly putting a sign like that up there and maybe one on Washington Street is a consideration. These things will actually, over time, paper themselves also in revenue from the speeding tickets. We can set like a 25 mile an hour speed zone on Grand. We can set it at 40 miles an hour if we want.
I think they're only allowed in Florida with school zones, right? The automatic ticketing, the speed.
I don't know. I would have to check.
That's not what it said. I don't know.
Yeah.
It is.
I don't recall the email you're talking about, but I was thinking it was.
I got it in my email.
I know that a number of cities, and the city of Oldsmore, for example, had a red light camera, speeding cameras, and it was not in for very long. There was a lot of public response to it. It was not successful. They eventually removed them, but other cities do have them. I would just need to verify whether or not they're grandfathered in versus this section you're referring to, Mayor.
Yeah.
Let's look into more
Yeah,
information.
I know
on
that. I know that obviously red light cameras are out there.
I was read about that. It was very interesting that, if it's, like I said, 25 mile speed limit, we don't have to write a ticket unless they're going like 40 miles an hour. I'm not like they're going over 25 to get a ticket. So
And
it'll be flags on it. But
I don't know if we can do that or not. And if we could, I don't know. I'd be on board with that just because I don't like automated ticketing things.
well, you go 50 miles an hour down there too, so I'm sure you wouldn't like that.
I don't. I obey the law all the time, of course,
Maybe get a speed brick for you.
especially on your street because I know how sensitive you are. So
Anyway, I thought it was interesting. I read that email. If we look into that, otherwise, speed humps are coming, I guess, because we're getting a safety.
yeah, do we got an update on the safety thing? Is that
Yes, they're
done.
supposed to be sending me the final draft at the end of this week.
okay? So we should have that maybe by
As
next
soon as
council meeting.
we look that over with the city manager, any small changes they have to make, we'll be bringing that to council for approval by resolution.
Right, next
All
meeting or two. Just you'll be gone just the one meeting, right? Next
I'll
meeting?
be here next meeting, and then the week after I'll be gone.
Okay.
That'll
You'll be on
back.
Zoom, right?
Right.
Either way. Okay.
I'll
So
be
it's
here
not like it's coming soon. So
Yeah, you're not going to get rid of me that easy.
anything else on old business?
Yes, I would like to have the staff go through this list and update this, because I noticed there's a lot of things like what's going on with the bathrooms at Brasher, and then the scenarios with the Centennial's completed. I think we just need to have the staff go through this list and freshen it up, because there's a lot of the stuff's been hanging around since 2023. And if we could get that done, and then once the list is done, then I think we ought to prioritize that list and move forward with an action plan that says, okay, here's what's out there. Let's sit here, and we could do this in a council meeting pretty easily, determining maybe even put the cost in here. It needs more information, right? Like the Grand Boulevard speed humps that Bob was talking about. Potentially, we were going to spend money for speed humps. Maybe we're going to get speed signs. So those are the kinds of things that help us make a decision. And I think we need to really just move some of these items forward and really get the information to do that.
I actually brought that point up to the city manager since he came in, and I said, old business has, some of the items have become stagnant. I do update information, just like the Centennial Committee. We are having that last meeting.
Right.
As soon as that meeting happens, that item will fall off. Limestone Pier, unfortunately, until SC Signature is done with that project, it's still on there. I told him things like items like the 5219 Miller Bayou property. Of course, when Matt Copper was here, he had other priorities at the time, but this is one of those stagnant items that
Right.
I think that we need to address council, look at this list and say, what do we want to put on the top and keep knocking down? I've received proposals for each of these projects, but until I get greenlit from the city manager, I don't move forward until he tells me, let's put it in front of council. So I think that when it's either Mr. Butterfield comes back, or when we bring in another city manager, this list needs to be itemized. Like you said, if we have to throw some estimate pricing on what they could be, we get with staff to do that. At least we have a ballpark number of what it's going to cost to go forward, and then go ahead and do that. But I do agree, because that was why I literally did bring that up as I was revising this list, is that some of these items are stagnant. The utility lead and copper study, that is constantly ongoing. The Brescia Park bathrooms, same thing. I have engineering proposals to start with design, but until the city manager tells me, let's get these in front of council, let's get a number approved, and let's go forward, that's where I'm at. And once Mr. Butterfield comes back, I'll bring this again to his attention if he hasn't watched this meeting tonight, and say that we need to itemize this list and list priorities and have council analyze this and what they feel is priority to start getting knocked out.
Right. And to your point, if we've got quotes or estimates, put it together. That way we can see what the cost on some of this thing is, because my next question, and I'll address that when I get to make my comments. So appreciate you looking at this. Thank you.
On the completed items, how long? I know you'd wanted to keep those on there. Do you want those to drop off at the end of the calendar year, in the fiscal year?
My suggestion would be is add it to a separate schedule, because at the end of the day, those are the items that you're going to look at and say, hey, let's look back and see what we've done, and you see what you've accomplished. I think that's a good way to recognize that, hey, we are making progress. Here's the list. And it's probably good information to have out there for the public, because they can see that we are making progress on these items.
Yeah,
It just moves to a separate list of completed projects.
yeah, but it's off the agenda.
Yeah. Well, it could float on this thing. It's not. It's just information
Well, I mean,
at that point.
as you fast forward 2, 3, 4 years, as things complete, we're going to continue to have
For
a
the
big
year.
long list.
In other words, at the end of the year, you'd look at how well we did. These are the items that we completed this year. Okay, after the year's over, yeah, they'd age off.
Yeah, at some point they need to come off this
Yeah,
packet.
yeah.
So leave completed items on another page for a year.
And put a date in there completed, so that we know it completed in fiscal year 2025.
You can put on there on budget or over budget too if you want. I mean, you can do that.
Yeah, I tell you what, you probably could do it if and maybe calendar year or fiscal year, either way. At the end of that, you would take the things that were accomplished on here and have a step like we have our financial reports or whatever, just on the website. Here's the things that were accomplished in 2025, 2026, and just have a yearly closeout.
Right. And then this is a tool to evaluate how well our city managers do. Right.
So you got city
Accountability.
city street paving is completed, but it's not on here.
Well, it just happens. So.
Yeah. Okay. So as going forward, we can look at cleaning that up. Obviously, there's not a lot on there completed anyway, but as they do, we can roll those off.
The Grand Boulevard intersection improvements, haven't got that back from the state yet, right? Have we?
Now we're waiting for the final from FDOT. So the questions were submitted. They replied. Our engineer went ahead and answered those comments, and we're just waiting for
How long
FDOT
was
to
that?
say, huh?
When did we send that last
Up to
update?
I just asked. I just submitted an email to the engineer late last week, so I'm waiting to hear back from him. So he's in he's basically waiting on them. So
It'd be nice to do the landscaping once that's completed, and that intersection, I think, would be,
Yeah, that's
I
when you
think
take
where
that.
the focus of
Sure.
most of it should be
Yeah.
anyway.
Okay. Yeah, if that gets to be a issue, let me know. I can reach out to the secretary.
okay.
'Cause I don't want to hold that up. I want to keep that moving.
I stress that to both the engineer and FDOT that council is very eager to accomplish this project. So,
Anything else? Whole business? Okay. Then I will move on to the comments from mayor and city council. I'll start, Chris dropped off, right? So he's, okay. So I'll start with Councilwoman Burke.
I just want to say that the speed display set up on Washington, I've noticed a little difference, and patrol's been out there a lot. I've noticed, so I think that's helping quite a bit. I haven't been hearing the vehicles as loud.
Good.
And also, I wanted to say something about fire did another water rescue this week, right? So, since you don't have a lift or a dock, how fast can you get that boat in the water?
Depends on which boat you're talking about.
Well, whichever boat you needed the other night, how fast could you get that in the water?
We got it pretty dialed in, or dialed in as like I say, what we do is we call PD and meet immediately and have them go and clear the boat ramp. So they clear the boat ramp. While they're doing that, we're hooking up whichever boat we decide to take, and it depends on what factors we get from a caller. Is there a fire? Is it not? Is it shallow water? Is it deep water? So if we're using one of the boats at the station, we're calling them, they're clearing the boat ramp for us. We're hooking up the appropriate boat, towing it to things. So we're pretty much at the marina. I would say maybe 6 minutes, 8 minutes that we're at the marina. And then launching the boat from there, which takes a couple more minutes because you got to back it in, unhook it, blah, 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 pull the truck out of the way, park it, jump on the boat, go. But we're as fast as we could be.
Right.
If it's a boat from the station. If it's the boat that's on the lift, then the unit just responds there. We have everything we need on the trucks already. Keys, all that stuff. They just respond there, jump in.
Right.
And we
Well, thanks to both departments, because you both did really good this week. Per usual, like always, so we all appreciate you both.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, you can elaborate on, give us an idea of what happened. I mentioned that to you earlier.
So on Sunday night, it was around 9 o'clock. We got a call for a vessel taking on water in distress. It was it was dark already, 9 o'clock at night, so it was dark. He was alone. That was a 911 caller. He was alone in distress, wasn't sure where he was. He said he could see the stilt houses. The engine stopped running and it was sinking. Turned out it was a bigger jet ski is what it was, but he was sinking. He said he could see the stilt houses and he could see some condos on both sides. We had a general idea on where he was. The sheriff's office didn't have a boat. Coast Guard says what they always tell us, too shallow. We'll send a helicopter if you need it for rescue, but because they really can't go in the water. I think it's under 5 foot, right? Something like 5 or 6 foot, I think. So, and it was shallow. So we deployed the rescue boat. Top Captain Quinn responded to the rescue boat, which is the soft side Coast Guard looking one, the smaller one. So he deployed that, and I responded from home. He got the rescue boat in the water, was responding out there. The sheriff's office had their helicopter in the air, so they were out trying to spot him. And they found him. I want to say it was around Stiltome 6 or 7, somewhere in there. I got on the bigger boat, the Marine unit by Hooters. I lowered it in the water, and so if it was a little further offshore, I was going to be the offshore boat. He'd be the inshore search guy. But I sat there because he had pretty sure the helicopter had found him. So I just sat in the water there and didn't actually deploy the boat yet, but I was ready to go. And then Tom had got to him. So we took him, and we towed him to a stilt home. He wasn't injured. He was freaked out, but he wasn't injured. We towed him to a stilt home, secured the watercraft, and then he had some decisions to make, and one of them was us take him to shore and him try to find somebody to go back and get his jet ski, or spend $2,100 on sea tow to tow his jet ski. So he wound up deciding he didn't want to leave it. So we secured him there, got him to a safety point, secured his vessel for him, came back in, and then he had called sea tow.
So it was a jet ski.
It was a jet ski, one of the bigger, like a
nighttime.
3-person jet skis, but he was by himself out there.
No lights.
Yeah, I know, at 9 o'clock
Yeah,
at
they
night.
can't run them at night.
No, they're supposed to be on an hour before dusk, I believe.
And he was sober?
Yeah, from what we can tell.
Yeah.
But
Well, he sobered up probably. But you could stand up there. I mean, not underground.
Yeah. Did he hit something? Is that what?
we we didn't get that far. We don't really know for sure. He just said it was taken on water. He said he left the sandbar or the island. He said he left the island. It was heading home. He knew he was later than he should have been because it got pretty dark.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it stopped running. And that's when you realized it was way bogging. And then it was just taking on water. So he was just clinging to the thing, floating out there.
I found people out there at night. Yelling in the distance.
That's what he was worried about. He was worried he was going to get run over.
Yeah, he was with some people and they left him. The person I found, he's out there floating off Gulf Harbors, hanging onto a jet ski. We were out there shark fishing. He's out there, we hear him yelling, and there he was, floating, hanging onto what's left of it.
But it went as good though.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, good.
Thank you. Do you have anything else?
Nope, I'm good.
Councilman Hubbard?
Nope.
Councilman Mueller?
Yeah. I quickly looked at the spend for our capital expenditures, and we're way underrunning. Do we have a get well plan to get that engaged and moved ahead? And can you bring an update next meeting? And then look at the items on the list. I know one of them was the lining of the lift stations today, but there is quite a bit of, I mean, we're spent about 3%, and we're 3/4 of the year done. So we should be at 75%. And actually, if we look at this, all this needs to be deployed on day one to get the full benefit, because what this does is it helps us run things better, run things smoother, gives us the tools for the departments to do their job. So let's take a look. You guys got 2 weeks, put something together. This is all over the board, you know, water, fire, police, all that stuff. Now let's come up with a plan, because now we've got July, August, September, 3 months left in the year, right?
I can tell you on our end, if it's something that we need, we're immediately jumping on it. If it's something that's a replacement or an upgrade, or sometimes we'll wait till the last quarter to do that because we don't know what else is going to hit us or happen. So to try to be budgetarily safe, we'll hold on to that and kind of wait a little while and ride it out, ride the year out. You know, hurricanes and things could happen.
Sure.
Next thing you know, listen, instead of replacing the brush truck, I guess we're gonna have to wait 1 more year because now we need a new fire truck. So I know on our end, that's typically what a lot of the departments will do. They'll hold off on some of those until the last quarter and then jump on them. But I'm just speaking for myself. But.
Right. Now, I'd just like to see you have the gear if you actually need it. Somebody put it in the budget for a reason. You know.
Understood, sir.
You know. Anyway, that's my only comment.
Hear anything from Don King?
I'm gonna give an update.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. Okay. So, a couple things. Since Bob asked, I'll start with that one. So, update on Don King. So he reached out. He had family in town last week, and I know Andy was trying to reach out to schedule July 1st. He had talked to his wife, and he has a house basically to travel back and forth between here about 5 hours a day. And so they were talking about, well, if I did get selected, would I, rent a place there or whatever. Anyway, so he basically is graciously appreciated the offer to come in for an interview. He's bowed out, so he's not going to be interested in that. So he's off the agenda. So that being said, we also need to regroup on the vendors that we had before us that we tabled. But I thought, because we owe a conversation, I know Chris had brought some things up, so I thought instead of July 1st, we were going to have the interview. If we go ahead and have that workshop and talk about if it's, if anything we want to do from a city charter perspective on changing government tweaks or whatever, and then after that discussion, what comes of that, we probably go ahead and look at making some changes. He brought up about talking about using this opportunity to look at possibility changes that we could look at doing. All right, whether it be whatever.
I can tell you right now, I'm not interested in that.
Again, it's a conversation, so I don't think it hurts to have a conversation and just kind of look through things and see if there's anything we want to possibly change, and then if based on that discussion, then we can bring back the three. Is it 3 or 4? 4. 4. Okay.
4 proposals.
And bring those back and and make action on one of those. But yeah, we're going to have an interview on July 1st. We can use that as a workshop and get that over with. So,
I'll have to hire
Is
the
that
people
it?
to go get us.
All the workshop's gonna be about that.
Well,
we'll just have to do that.
but the workshop is going to do what? Select the organization, or
No, it's
No,
just a workshop.
It's
No
just
action.
a workshop just to talk about if there's anything we see that we want to look at changing.
in the chart,
Mhm.
and not deal with the
Specifically around
Well-
city manager and that. Structure.
Okay, but if we have that meeting, could we address the firms that we were looking at and get that kicked off so it goes
Sure,
faster?
we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
A workshop, you cannot have action. It would need to be a special
Well,
meeting.
right. There wouldn't be action on anything. The workshop would just be a discussion, and if we decide we wanted to action something, we'd roll out to the next meeting. So, again,
I think that's
Chris
what
wanted a
Councilman
conversation.
Mueller
I think we owe a conversation.
Well,
going towards.
So we could vote on it the next meeting where we know what we're voting on.
Yeah, I think it's just a public meeting where we get together and talk about here's some potential things, and if we want to decide we want to make a change or whatever, then we can bring it back for action.
why don't we have a special meeting instead, and then
Yeah, can we do that instead of a workshop?
to address it that way? And that way we could address the,
Well, I think there's probably, depending on what comes at workshop, I think there's probably going to be some work involved to get it to a point where you're going to vote on anything for sure. But we can. I mean,
well, here's the thing. We already took the time on the last agenda, reviewed all those 4 firms. I made a decision on where I was going to stand, and
Yeah, me too.
I'm assuming everybody else did too.
Right.
we just tabled it. We didn't
I
discuss
know
it.
we did.
Chris tabled it. We said that's fine because we're waiting to see what Don said.
Right. Exactly.
Because something else entered the picture. But as far as I'm concerned, I was ready to vote on it that night. And now, 2 weeks have gone by, now another 2 weeks, so that's another month.
Yeah. Well-
Or do we want to go without another month without engaging a firm?
Well-
So I can make a motion right now to hire that company and see if it passes.
Well, it's not on the agenda. We have
No,
to add
it's
it.
not.
We're not ready for that. We can have it as ready as the next meeting, which would be July 8th.
Or
Right.
So, and July 1st is before the 8th. So that's why I was thinking if we wanted to have the conversation about
Okay.
that, get it out of the way, and then based on what we discuss here, we'd be ready to go on the 8th. That sound plausible? Do you guys you just want to keep everything the way it is and just hire a firm?
That's what we need to do. I don't know what else.
Again, I don't know what we need to do. I think, again, we're in a situation now where we have the opportunity to take a breath, talk about if there's anything we want to discuss, change, and it can be minor.
You talking about a mayor-run city or a city manager-run city? Is this what we're
No,
saying?
I think there's what
Or are you
Chris
talking about other things?
specifically around the structure of our government, right? So So now, let me give you an example, okay? He said strong mayor. There's very different views of strong mayor. There's mayor in a city. There's also strong mayor. I think they have, one of the other cities in Pasco has that, which they still have a city manager, city administrator, or whatever. There's different things. So why don't we have that conversation there and talk about all those different things? I don't want to have it here. It's not really pertinent to have it here.
Why?
Because we're not prepared for it. We need to sit down and look at some of the options and see if there's anything we want to tweak. And if there's not, maybe we leave everything exactly the way it is, and then we move forward on the 8th with hiring one of those firms and getting a city manager.
Well,
Or at the same time, we do that, and we also pursue some charter changes.
I don't want to be the one to say I don't want to hear. I'm willing for improvement, as long as it's improvement. I'm all-
Exactly.
I'm all ears for
That's
that.
you got to have a conversation. I mean,
Okay.
you don't know what you don't know. So if you all are dead set against having a conversation about making improvements to the government style, then we'll just move forward. But I think it's an opportunity to talk about it. And Chris brought it up. And like I said, I don't care one way or another. Like I said, doesn't make no difference to me. I know there's things in the charter that I don't like that makes things tough to do business. And I think we could probably take a look at that and make some positive changes to where we're more efficient. It's just a conversation. I think it'd be a good opportunity just to hash that out and see what what maybe makes sense.
Well, it's
with
on the
us.
schedule to be here. I'll be here. I mean, that's fine.
Well, actually, it's not on schedule.
No, so we were
I got it
planning
on
on,
my calendar.
we were
already.
planning on doing
discussed
an interview.
We were supposed to interview Don King.
Right.
is what
So
I got
since
on
that's
the schedule.
off, just makes
That
sense
was
to
at
me.
noon, right?
Huh?
So we can still do this.
We can still do it whenever you want.
early. We can still
Yeah,
do it early.
absolutely.
Right.
And I'd probably be better some staff didn't have to be here late.
I just need to know if we're going to be doing a special meeting or a workshop,
I
so
don't
that way
think
I
there's any-
know which way to notify.
I don't think there's any need for any action to come out of that. It'd just be just a roundtable discussion, talking about different things and points of view, and see if there's anything we propose to change. Again, anything that would come of that workshop, we would have to then action it ordinance, and it wouldn't change until an election. So anything come out of it has to
Well,
go
it
to the
depends
people.
on what we're doing, but yeah, it depends on what,
Sorry.
depending on what you're doing. It would depend on an election, right?
Any change to the charter would require a vote of the electorate.
Mm-hmm.
So all we would be doing would be talking about any changes that we would, just like we did with the 15 or whatever, some charter changes or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Except we didn't, that was very uber focused on some certain things that needed to be addressed.
But that won't change us looking for a city manager anyway, so we
No.
still need to get a hold of the firm.
So I would say the next,
We still need to do that.
yeah, and that would be July 8th. We would have that back on the agenda. I mean, if you want to make a special meeting, we do it on July 1st. We do that too. But again, I don't want to cloud that.
July 9th, I'll be out of town, but I'll be here for the 8th. But the following meeting, I'll be out of town, so I'll be
So-
on Teams.
So if you guys okay with July 1st, went forward with the workshop?
Yeah. What time?
What time would
Can we have it at noon?
Can we have lunch?
would you rather? Would you do after lunch or during lunch?
Well, we have it
Sal
at
said
10 a.m. or 11 a.m. or 10 a.m. is scheduled.
10 a.m. 's fine with me.
Then we can do breakfast.
10 a.m. 's good. 10, 11.
You want
All right.
10, 11?
Yeah,
10,
Mayor,
11.
Mayor's buying breakfast if he wants us here. That's how it works.
I don't care what weather. Just, I'm trying to, it was brought up to have a discussion. Let's have a discussion. And then
But 10 a.m.
Pick a time. Yeah, 10 a.m.
10's fine with me.
That's what we have. Yeah, well,
Okay.
scheduled for.
Is that good with you, Sal?
Never
10?
confirmed though.
Workshop 10 on the 1st.
10 a.m.?
Oh, 10 a.m.
Any objections to that?
No.
Okay. And if you also plan on bringing back the tabled item on the 8th council agenda for these 4 city manager search firms. Good? Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, that's that update. Paving was mentioned. Like I said, I did ride with Daryl. We meticulously looked up and down Bay Boulevard for punch items, and there were a lot. So he's going to be working with Ajax to get those things addressed. I will say that even as we were looking at that, and just to give you some examples, I had noticed that it looked like one lane was a lot wider than the other, and so I actually measured it, and there was a spot that I measured was a foot difference on both sides. So, and as we went down through Bayville, there was actually some that were almost 2 foot different. So the striping is a big problem, and so I was going to be working with them on that. There was also some paving, pitting and stuff that can lend itself to potholes and water enters and that. So he's going to be working with Ajax to get those items taken care of. I will say though that as a positive thing, people riding by and commenting on how great it was.
The paving itself looks nice.
Yeah,
Yes.
even with the issues,
Right.
very well received by the public. So that was good.
Mhm.
But anyway, he's going to be working to get that. I think made a comment to the guys. He said it was good. And I said, well, we want it to be perfect for you, so we're going to tidy up these loose ends. And then finally, Linda Rodriguez was here last week. I happened to see her, and she had mentioned about the discussion we had with the CRA on 3 quotes for the residential grant. And we had a discussion. I think you actually brought that up. I went back to see. It was on the January 14th meeting, and we had a fairly lengthy discussion about why we require 3 quotes. Linda had asked. I thought we had changed that, and I didn't think we had changed it. So I went back to look to see, and we didn't. And just for the public's awareness, what we talked about is the reason that those quotes were there is because as the city, Anything over $2,500 up to $25,000, we require 3 quotes. Okay, if we can't get 3 quotes, we're not bound to 3 quotes. But
that
Jeff Conley?
why? No one can explain to me why. Just because we have to have. We're not paying for this. The customer's paying. We're reimbursing them for something that they did. There's some things that we do in here. We don't have 3 companies that can do it.
Right.
You can't get 3 bids.
I get that, and you're not beholden to 3 quotes. But the reason, so our purchasing policy requires 3 quotes, and I think it's good that it does.
If
You wouldn't want just 1 quote every
If
time
the
because people
city's
would be
looking to
abusing that.
get like 3 bids for something that they're paying for and they want to go with like the cheapest or the one in the middle, I would understand that. But you're having you can't dictate to the.
Well, you're jumping ahead. So hold on a second. So we're talking about the city purchasing policy. Okay, 3 quotes. If we go out, we're going to spend $10,000 on some project.
Right.
We want to get 3 quotes
Yeah, you
because
do.
we probably will take the lesser one.
For the city, but this is
All right,
for
so
citizens.
let me get there. So that's our purchasing policy as a city. So what the conversation was is this $5,000 grant money, that's city money, right? And so the reason that we have the 3 quotes mimics our purchasing policy. And so that's why we do it. Doesn't mean we have to do it, but that's the rationale. And
Right.
it's probably good. And it's interesting as I watched that, Linda had actually said that it was a good policy. I think she had herself had gotten a couple quotes on something, and she
Internal control.
went with a lower one because she got the quote. If if you don't do your due diligence, and you just call some guy up to do something and he charges X amount of dollars, you could be overpaying. You might get lucky and get the cheapest off the bat, but again, if you don't talk to a couple people, you're not going to.
90% of the time, when someone wants something done, they already know who they want to do it.
There are cases like that.
Licensed, they're licensed, bonded, insured to do that. As long as they're qualified, they got a license and they pull the permit to do it. Then you making the homeowner go out and harass 2 other companies to spend their time to come out and give you quotes that are useless 90% of the time. And is buying what the person he wants to do. It may not be the cheapest, may not be the most expensive. It doesn't matter. That's who he wants to do it. Sometimes it's good to encourage someone that doesn't know anybody should get 3 bids. It might be something we put in, or you should get 3 bids, but this guy's just doing the job. He's my friend. He's giving me a good deal. He's licensed, he's bonded, he's sure, so I know what I'm getting. No one else around here I can find to do this job, so he's not going to qualify.
No, I think what the discussion was. Before you talk, and you add in there.
I get the bureaucratic conversation. I understand that.
If you can't find another quote, you aren't beholden to have more than 1 quote.
Okay.
It's just
That's what I understood last time was that you're not required to get 3 quotes to get that.
Right, and that's what you were going to say, I guess.
Yes, but also.
And Diane is taken without 3 quotes, so she'll go ahead and approve it.
Well, yes. So the thing is, you got to try to get 3 quotes. I mean, obviously, if one person doesn't come out, but you have 2 quotes, it's fine. You tried. But the fact is you're spending taxpayer money. We're beholden to 3 quotes because we're spending someone else's money. Even though we give it to you, we're okay in the project itself. So you're still beholden to those rules and regulations because we're spending that money basically on that thing.
And that's why people don't do it. If you're using taxpayers' money, it's not city's money, it's taxpayers' money. So using taxpayers' money to buy something for the city, we should get 3 estimates to show to the taxpayers, we did our due diligence to spend your money on this project, and this is what we determined and why. But when you're telling a homeowner, you're going to tell them, well, this is the cheapest, but we're not going to pay for this one because this is too expensive. We want this one. The homeowner says, I want this guy because he's doing extra work for me. It's a better product. You're saying, no, you can't tell him he can't use that company as long as he's licensed, bonded, and insured, right?
Nobody's saying you can't use companies.
So why get the bids? That's my point.
Because it's a purchasing policy.
Because it's just good practice to do so.
It's good practice.
I see what Bob's saying, though. What if
And you're talking 2 companies come out there for no reason, you're wasting everybody's time.
Yeah, but you have to understand too. The only thing we're asking you, we're giving you $5,000. The city is giving you, the taxpayers of this county or city is giving you $5,000. They're asking you to get three
Well,
quotes.
I
I
did
don't
when
think
I-
that's a big ask.
When I got
$5
the
grand.
windows, I had to call 2 other companies to come out, and I had to be there when they got there and when all the crap. And then and they tried to give me these sales pitch, and I keep getting emails from them now.
Is that not worth $5,000?
Yes.
That's not my point.
Well, I get your point. I know your point. And I totally agree with you. It seems
I'm
like
not, if someone wants to do that, that's fine. I'm just saying it's not necessary. That's all.
so.
I'm saying you should recommend people to get three bids. But if he comes in, who am I going to get these 3 bids from? This is the only company I know that does this particular kind.
No, you answer your question. You can't get them, so your one quote is sufficient.
Good. Then you tell people you don't need 3 quotes. We prefer
No,
you get it.
We tell you you need 3 quotes. That's what I'm saying. You have to go out and
Okay.
actually
Well,
physically
that's
try
why I
to get 3
disagree.
quotes. But if
Anyway,
you don't
but
get
you want to do it,
get
that's why I'm going to argue with you.
No,
on
we
that. I'm
do
just saying
this.
it's
We
not
do the same
necessary.
thing. If we can't get 3 people to come out here, we've done that several times. You can't get 3 people out here to do something. We go with the 2 quotes that we have.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's good practice, and again, I'll stress this. I
And
don't
the
think it's asking a
citizens
lot for someone to ask 3
We're
people to come out
telling
with
you you're
your house.
spending money on city things and you can't get 3 bids. Well, we may not want you to do that.
Well, let's do this. Okay, I just wanted to inform that we did not make any change there. So just to clarify, we did
Right.
not change that. So you still need 3 quotes. It is well within our purview to change that. And so I would suggest if you want
Not
to change
it. Right.
at the next CRA meeting when it's appropriate, because that's the CRA.
Right.
Bring it up for discussion then, and we can look at changing that.
And I do see it. I did not bring it up tonight, but I still stand strong that I don't see what I think it should be recommended, but
I think council people ought to get 5 quotes just to show that we really are doing due diligence. So, anyways,
well, go ahead.
no, I'm just kidding.
This
You
is
should
this
lead
is
by
real-
example.
This is real simple. You want the 5,000, you have to walk the path. We've sent people
Right.
down that path who came in here and they didn't follow the rules and they didn't get reimbursed.
Right.
So the point is, if you want to get the 5,000, you have to go through the process.
I mean, I'm all for making things as easy as possible. Don't get me wrong.
And you asked me if the 3 quotes were worth the $5,000 to me. Yeah, it was, but
Of course
it
it
was
is.
a pain, and I look at it and say, why? I have a guy as a resident of Port Richey has done all my work for years, and he gave me a great deal, but I still have to call these 2 other companies. And there's a lot of people in the same position as me and they've told me, why do we have to do that?
Well,
It's
how
a
do you know?
policy.
How do you know
Why
it's
do
a
they
great
do
deal?
that? It's a policy because we can. That's why we do it.
How do you know it's a great deal unless you get another quote?
Because they have someone they know, and they already know what it costs. Other people have done it. It's
Yeah,
just-
you know, as you build a relationship with people over time, it does
you know
different
it's a good
things.
deal.
You've already done that due diligence before, so at that point you don't feel like you
Right.
need. But things change, and like I said, it's good practice. But
Right.
again, at the end of the day, you can use whoever you want to use.
Protest it. I just disagree. Is all I'm saying, and I'll explain why. But if you want to continue, that's fine.
Yeah. It's a council decision. So if you guys want to bring it up, CRA, think about it, bring it up, and we can talk about taking that out. More than happy to discuss that.
Okay.
But I did want to spell that we did not change it, so you still need 3 quotes as of today, and that was the ask.
But what we did change is the annual versus a biannual.
Right, you can do it every year now.
But you're reimbursing the taxpayers their money. It's not city's money. City don't have money. It's all taxpayers' money.
So with that,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have Dave's motion and Lisa had a second. So all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye.